September 1942, Chicago. Before the speech, they asked her about lipstick. "Miss Pavlichenko, what lipstick do you prefer? Miss Pavlichenko, do you wear skirts at the front? Miss Pavlichenko, how do you take care of your skin?" She had just arrived from hell. 8 months of Sevastopol, dozens of dead comrades, 309 killed enemies, and they're asking about cosmetics. The translator whispers, "Smile, answer, they need a show." But Lyudmila doesn't smile. She walks onto the stage. 3,000 people, all stood. Applause, camera flashes. She waits for silence and says what she thinks. "Gentlemen," her voice is quiet, but everyone hears. "I am 25 years old. I have killed 309 fascists." The hall freezes. "Don't you think, gentlemen," long pause, "that you've been hiding behind my back for too long?" 3 seconds of silence. Then, explosion of applause. The hall erupted in ovation. The next day her phrase was printed in every American newspaper. Roosevelt quoted her in his address to the nation. But few asked, what price do these 309 cost? What path did an ordinary girl from Kiev walk to become the deadliest woman in the history of war? And what remains of a person after 309 shots? Her name was Lyudmila Pavlichenko, and this is her story. If you're interested in real stories of people at war, subscribe to the channel. We tell stories that history textbooks stay silent about. July 1916, Bila Tserkva, Russian Empire. Lyudmila was born into a working-class family. Father, Mikhail Ivanovich, worked at a factory. Mother, Elena Trofimovna, too. Ordinary family, ordinary girl. But there was one detail. When Lyudmila was 12, the family moved to Kiev. And in the courtyard of their building, boys were bragging about who could shoot better with homemade slingshots. Lyudmila asked to join. The boys laughed. A week later, she was shooting better than all of them. "I didn't like to lose," she would write later in her memoirs. A simple phrase, but it contains her entire character. At 14, she joined the WWII shooting club. This was a Soviet organization that prepared youth for defense, shooting with TOZ-8 rifles, targets at 50 meters. The instructor, an old Red Fleet sailor from the Civil War, didn't want to take her at first. "This isn't for girls," he said. Lyudmila silently took the rifle. 5 shots, 5 hits. The instructor nodded. "Come on Wednesday." By 16, she became a master of sport in shooting. By 18, she entered Kiev University's history department. Studies, komsomol, first love, ordinary student life. But she didn't drop the rifle. Every weekend, the shooting range. Every summer, shooting camps. She shot not because she dreamed of war. She shot because she was the best, and that mattered. "I wanted to be different from everyone else," she would tell an American journalist. "I wanted to prove that a woman can do anything." June, Kiev. She is taking exams in her 3rd year, diploma almost ready. Ahead, teaching history, science, ordinary peaceful life. And then the war began. June 22, 1941. Lyudmila learned about the war from the radio. Molotov spoke slowly, with pauses. Treacherous attack. She listened and thought about one thing, the rifle. She went to the military commissariat the next day. A queue, several hundred people. Men, women, elderly. Everyone wants to go to the front. The military commissar looked at her documents. Student? Historian? Yes. Nurse? Cook? Telephone operator? Choose. Sniper. The commissar raised his eyes. "This isn't a joke, young lady." Lyudmila pulled out her komsomol card. There was a note, "Master of Sport in Shooting, WWII. I can shoot better than half the men in this line," she said quietly. "Test me." They tested her. 10 shots at a target at 100 meters, 9 in the 10 ring, 1 in the 9 ring. The commissar nodded. "Odessa, 25th Chapayev Rifle Division. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. Departure." She returned home. Mother cried. Father was silent. Her husband, Alexei, her classmate, tried to talk her out of it. "This is madness, Lyuda. You're a woman." She looked at him and said, "That's exactly why I must go, to prove that women can also defend the motherland." 24 hours later, she was on a train to Odessa. In the car, 42 soldiers, all men, she alone. They looked at her with bewilderment. Someone smirked. Someone shook their head. One sergeant, heavy-set with a beard, said loudly, "Well, that's it. Now we'll have to babysit a woman, too." Lyudmila was silent. She didn't prove anything with words. She knew. She would prove it with deeds. August 1941. Odessa. The city under siege. Romanian troops advancing from 3 sides. The 4th side, the sea. Evacuation happens every night, but troops remain. Order. Hold to the last. Lyudmila was assigned to a sniper platoon. Platoon commander, Senior Lieutenant Leonid Butko, met her coldly. "Pavlichenko? You're that student?" "Yes, sir." "Ever shoot people?" "No." "Targets?" "Yes." Butko smirked. "Targets don't shoot back, and they don't scream when they fall. First assignment, the front line. Odessa outskirts, residential sector. Destroyed houses, gardens, vineyards. Perfect place for snipers. Lyudmila was given a Mosin rifle with a PE optical scope. Heavy, smelling of gun oil. She checked the scope, cocked the bolt. Movements, automatic. Thousands of training sessions. Her partner was assigned. Private Sergei Nikolaev. Young, thin, spoke little. They took position in the attic of a destroyed house. Ahead, field, road, another house. 200 meters to the front line. Nikolaev whispered, "Mission is observation. If you see a target, report. We'll shoot later." Lyudmila nodded. They lay in silence for 2 hours. Heat, dust, flies. Somewhere in the distance, artillery. And suddenly, movement. A Romanian soldier came out from behind the house, young, in a helmet, with a rifle. He looked around and walked to the well. Nikolaev froze. Target, 180 meters. Lyudmila pressed against the scope. The soldier bent over the well. She saw his back, helmet, hands. "Take him," Nikolaev whispered. She put her finger on the trigger. The soldier lifted the bucket, straightened, turned sideways. In the scope, his face. Young, maybe 20 years old, maybe younger. This is a person, she thought. A living person, with a mother, with a home. "Pavlichenko, what are you doing?" Nikolaev hissed. "Shoot!" The soldier took a step toward the house. Lyudmila exhaled and pressed the trigger. Shot. The soldier fell. She pulled her eye from the scope. Her hands trembled, a lump in her throat. Nikolaev looked through binoculars. "Clean. You're first?" Lyudmila nodded. She couldn't speak. Nikolaev awkwardly patted her shoulder. "It's normal. Everyone's like this. The first one is the hardest." That evening, in the dugout, she didn't eat, just sat and stared at the wall. The senior sergeant, the same one who laughed on the train, sat next to her. "Listen, Pavlichenko," he hesitated. "You know what the battalion commander told me after my first? He said, 'If it's easy for you to kill, you're not human. If you can't kill, you're not a soldier. Find the middle.'" Lyudmila looked at him. "Did you find it?" The sergeant smiled sadly. "Still looking." The second shot was easier, the third even easier. By the end of August, Lyudmila had 17 confirmed kills. By mid-September, 36. She didn't count herself. The platoon counted. By the rules, every hit had to be confirmed by an observer or commander. Then, report. Then, entry in the log. The numbers grew, but she changed. Her face became harder, movements more precise. She learned to wait, for hours, without moving, without blinking, to become stone, shadow, part of the ruins. She learned not to think. Sniper work isn't heroism, it's patience. You lie in mud, in heat or cold, wait for hours for a target. Then, one shot, 2 seconds, and wait again. But there were moments. September 1941, Odessa suburbs, Romanian troops preparing assault. Our positions under fire. Need to identify the enemy observation post. They're directing artillery from there. Lyudmila and Nikolaev are sent on a night reconnaissance. They crawl through no man's land. 300 meters, slowly. Each meter, a minute. Each sound, death. Ahead, ruins of a farm. The observer should be there. They reach the barn. Lyudmila carefully raises her head, looks through a crack. Inside, two. A Romanian officer and soldier. Officer looking through stereoscope. Soldier writing something in a notebook. Nikolaev whispers, "Take the officer, I'll take the soldier." On three, simultaneously. Lyudmila nods, aims. 1, 2, 3. 2 shots, 1 sound. Both fall. They grab documents and crawl back. Behind, shouts, flare light, machine gun bursts. They return at dawn. The commander studies the documents. "Good work. This is their battery commander. You just saved a company." Lyudmila doesn't feel pride. She feels tiredness. She lies down in the dugout and falls asleep without undressing. October 1941. Evacuation of Odessa. The city can no longer be held. Order. Withdrawal to Sevastopol. Troops board ships at night. Snipers leave last. They're covering the retreat. Lyudmila shoots until the last moment. Her count, 53. She's one of the last to leave the city. On the ship's gangway, she turns around. Odessa is burning. Smoke covers the stars. We'll return, she thinks. But deep down she knows, no. November 1941 to June 1942. Sevastopol. 8 months of siege. 8 months of hell. Germans bomb the city every day. Artillery never stops. But the front line holds, because every meter is defended to the death. And because here, the best snipers of the USSR. Lyudmila's now not just a sniper. She's an instructor, platoon commander. She has 10 subordinates. She teaches them everything she knows. A sniper must be invisible, she says. If they spotted you, you're dead. 1 shot, 1 position. Fired, leave. Her count grows, 100, 150, 200. She's the most effective sniper in the Sevastopol sector, and the Germans know this. May 1942. Lyudmila takes position in a destroyed house. Mission: cover the company's flank. Her observer, young Sergeant Pavel Kuznetsov. They've been lying in ambush for 3 hours. Silence. Too quiet. Kuznetsov whispers, "I don't like this. Where are they all?" And suddenly, impact. A bullet pierces brick 20 centimeters from Lyudmila's head. Fragments cut her cheek. She instinctively drops down. "Sniper!" Kuznetsov hisses. They freeze. 1 minute. 2. Lyudmila carefully looks through the scope, scans enemy positions. Ruins, craters, bushes, nothing. She knows. He's there, somewhere, waiting. A game, she thinks. Who outlasts whom? They lie for an hour, without moving. Lyudmila feels her muscles cramping. Sweat runs into her eyes, but she doesn't move. And then, movement. Tiny, a glint. Something flashed in the ruins opposite. 250 meters, 2nd floor window. Optics, she understands. She slowly turns the rifle, aims, but doesn't shoot. Waits. Another minute, another. And then, a silhouette, just barely. Helmet, edge of shoulder. Lyudmila exhales and shoots. Kuznetsov looks through binoculars. Hit? Don't know. Check. 5 minutes later, Kuznetsov whispers, "Got him. Body by the window. Rifle with optics." Lyudmila nods. She doesn't rejoice, just nods. Another sniper. Her 22nd. June 1942. Germans begin the final assault on Sevastopol. Infantry, tanks, artillery, aviation. Everything at once. The city burns. Defenders retreat to the bay. Ammunition running out. Almost no water. Nowhere to evacuate the wounded. Lyudmila shoots every day. Sometimes 20 shots a day. Her count, 284. She doesn't sleep. Barely eats. Eyes red from dust and smoke. Her platoon, now 4 people. The rest killed or wounded. June 10. Position by the North Bay. German infantry attacking. Lyudmila and her soldiers covering the company's withdrawal. Shooting goes on for an hour, 2. And suddenly, explosion. Mortar shell. 3 meters away. Lyudmila feels the impact. Heat. Pain in her side. She falls. Around. Smoke. Screams. Ringing in ears. Someone drags her. Kuznetsov. He's shouting something, but she can't hear. She sees blood. Lots of blood. Hers. His. Then, darkness. She woke up in a hospital. Underground bunker. Smell of carbolic acid. Blood. Rot. A doctor, a woman about 40, leaned over her. Serious wound. Shrapnel in shoulder and side. One close to the lung. You're lucky. Lyudmila wanted to ask about Kuznetsov, but couldn't. The doctor understood. Your sergeant? Killed. He covered you with his body. Lyudmila closed her eyes. Tears flowed on their own. Kuznetsov, 22 years old, dreamed of becoming a teacher. She spent 3 days in the hospital. Then, evacuation. Submarine, Novorossiysk, train to Moscow. Sevastopol fell on July 4th. Lyudmila Pavlichenko never fought at the front again. Her war was over. But another one began. August 1942, Moscow. Lyudmila was summoned to the Kremlin. She thought, award, maybe hero of the Soviet Union. But no. Comrade Junior Lieutenant, said the general, the motherland needs you. But not here, in America. A Soviet youth delegation is going to the USA and Canada. Goal, agitation, show Americans that the USSR is holding. Convince Roosevelt to open the second front. And they need a symbol, a hero. Lyudmila is perfect. Young, beautiful, battle-tested, and a woman. Perfect image for the Western press. She couldn't refuse. September 1942, New York. Lyudmila disembarks from the ship. Journalists meet her. Dozens. Camera flashes, shouts, questions. Miss Pavlichenko, is it true you killed 309 people? Lieutenant Pavlichenko, aren't you scared? What do you think about fashion? What's your lipstick? She was confused. She expected questions about the war, about Sevastopol, about comrades, and they're asking about skirts. The translator whispers, smile. They need a show. Lyudmila clenches her fists, but smiles. For 2 months she travels across America, gives speeches, meets with politicians, students, workers. She talks about the war, about Sevastopol, about how Germans kill children, about how the USSR is bleeding while America waits. And then, Chicago, that rally, 3,000 people. Before going on stage, they asked her about cosmetics. She couldn't stay silent anymore. She went out and told the truth. Gentlemen, I am 25 years old. I have killed 309 fascists. Don't you think, gentlemen, that you've been hiding behind my back for too long? The hall exploded with applause. Newspapers print her speeches, her photos, on covers. She becomes a celebrity. But inside she is empty. Eleanor Roosevelt, the president's wife, invites her to the White House. They talk for a long time, without translator, without press. Eleanor asks, Lyudmila, what do you feel when you shoot? Lyudmila is silent for a long time, then says, nothing. If I felt anything, I would go insane. Eleanor nods. She understands. 1943-1945, USSR. Lyudmila never returned to the front. They forbade her, too valuable for propaganda. She taught at sniper school, trained new marksmen. Over 100 soldiers passed through her hands. She gave interviews, wrote articles, gave speeches. But at night she had dreams. Sevastopol, Kuznetsov, that Romanian soldier by the well. Faces, hundreds of faces. She barely slept. Victory. Lyudmila was awarded Hero of the Soviet Union, Order of Lenin, 2 Gold Star medals. She stood on the tribune. Around, crowds, music, celebration. And she thought about those who didn't survive. After the war, she finished university, became a historian, worked in the Veterans Council, got married, had a son, lived quietly, peacefully, almost never spoke about the war. When asked, she answered briefly, formally, like from a textbook. The real truth she kept inside. Lyudmila Pavlichenko died of a stroke. She was 58 years old. She was buried at WWII Cemetery. On the monument, words, Hero of the Soviet Union, Sniper. 309 shots not mentioned. Maybe that's better. Lyudmila Pavlichenko lived 33 years after the war, but her real life ended in Sevastopol. Sniper is not a profession. It's a sentence. You cannot forget. Every face, every shot. They stay with you forever. 309 lives, 309 decisions. 309 times she looked through the scope and pulled the trigger. She saved hundreds of her comrades, maybe thousands. But the price was her own soul. History remembers her as a hero, as a symbol, as an icon. But she was simply a person. A girl from Kiev who wanted to prove that women are not weak. She proved it. But at what cost? If this story touched you, write in the comments. How do you feel about women in combat? What do you think about the price of heroism? And subscribe to the channel. We tell stories that stay silent.